even in my pre-season prediction, and you lot all said I was crazy, and I said Man City are gonna storm it 15 by 10, 15 points. Remember, I said like 10, 15 points, and here we are sat here. They're 10 points ahead of Liverpool with a game in hand, and they're 7 points ahead of Man United, second place with a game in hand.
5.
Oh, 5. Yeah, 5 points ahead of Man United with a game in hand to win that, and 8 points. And from now to the end of the season, I expect them to get more points than Manchester United. So if Man United do end up, look at this hater. You only got your board to blame. Should have bought Jadon Sancho, maybe you might have won the title. Maybe if you had bought Jadon Sancho, but on recent form, you can see, like, I expect Man City to get at least 10 more points from now until the end of the season than Manchester United. So if Man United do end up finishing in second place, they're gonna win the title by at least like 15 points, and that's what I said. They're gonna win it by 10, 15 points, and you lot thought I was crazy, but here we are sat here, and Man City looking extremely, extremely comfortable.
We got to address this current situation in the Premier League, because as it stands, Man City have gone 10 points clear of Liverpool.
What? Oh, I was going to say of second.
Of Liverpool. And unfortunately, our residential Liverpool guests decided not to be here. Both of them were given the invite and didn't turn up. But it's cool. It is what it is, isn't it? It happens, isn't it? When title races come to an end, people start to just fall away. But it's cool. We need to address the situation. What actually happened at Anfield, because Pep Guardiola didn't just outclass Klopp. He did an absolute number on him. Neeks, what was your thoughts on the game yesterday?
It was crazy. Man City didn't play that well. And when I say that, I mean they didn't 4-1 batter Liverpool, yet they 4-1 battered Liverpool. So for me, like, Man City deserved to win the game. Don't get it twisted. Deserved to win the game easily, like especially based on the second half. But Liverpool were their own worst enemy. They were terrible. They were so bad that Man City didn't have to get out of like second gear. If Man City had to, I think they could have easily at any point, but they just didn't have to. It was like, I mean, the first half it was like kind of testing each other, seeing how, and then Man City were like, Pep was like, wait, the Liverpool team ain't got none. I thought this is a fortress. We ain't won here in 18, what is it? 18 games, 18 years? I don't know what it is. 18, I think it's 18 years. Yeah, we ain't won in 18 years. And then by half time, it's like, this is a joke. We're supposed to be 1-0 up already because Gundogan missed the penalty. Yeah, we got this, man. Man put Phil Foden and Bernardo Silva up front, 4-4-2, and just said, get them, man. And Liverpool were poor. They were like, and the thing is, I'm not surprised because they were poor against Brighton. They were poor against Burnley. They've been poor in they're poor against Man United at Anfield. They're decent against Man United at Old Trafford. They're poor against Man United at Anfield. They're poor against Fulham. The list is endless. They have been poor for easily 2 months straight, just poor. We've got good game here, good game there. So I'm not surprised. And I mean, I guess it takes a good team to really put them to the sword. You know, Burnley and Brighton were never going to beat them 4-1. You know, they take their 1-0, they run, they move with it. Man City. And then obviously you got this Alisson who was just gifting. Like, that was actually disgraceful. I think that guy had some debts to pay in the favelas. Someone had kidnapped someone in his family, and he was match fixing, because there's no way that he gave the ball to Liverpool. They won it back. And about gave it back to them. I said, nah, what is going on? So it was a disgrace from Liverpool. Poor from Klopp as well. Like, we can talk about the players, but he's playing these two centre backs, two midfielders. People say, oh yeah, but you know, Kabach is young and Ben Davies. You lost to Burnley, you lost to Brighton at home. Then now you've lost 4-1. It can't get any worse. You might as well put them there, or put one of them there, and move Henderson back in the midfield to give yourself a chance. Because right now they are sinking fast. And if they don't listen, I don't say if they don't wake up, but they could easily miss out on Champions League the way things are going. And that would be disgraceful based on what happened last season. Absolutely disgraceful.
Yeah, that's the thing. And see, for me, it was that first half was it looked like it was going to be one of them big game drab draws, like similar like we had at the Etihad in the second half.
Yeah.
It was just like we'll kill the game off, we'll go for a draw. Now, and I tweeted at half time, I said, man, Liverpool, you got 5 minutes to show that you want this title, because the reality is you're the champions and you're so far behind City. Now, if you really want it, you've been tepid in the first half. If you really want it, you got to go for it. And it seemed like, as you said, Pep was the one that made the change, even though they didn't have to, because a draw would have been.
What change did they make?
No, not in terms of personnel, but in terms of formation.
Okay,
He made the formation change, put the two up front. It allowed Gundogan to play a bit more higher up, because he had Cancelo dropping into the midfield, and they kind of had a back three when they were attacking. So he made it, instead of, he tweaked it a little bit just to get more Man City players in Liverpool's half. And Klopp didn't really, kind of trusted in the formation and wanted them to go again. And obviously backfired on him in a big way. And it was like Pep wanted to go for it. Pep wanted City to attack more and press Liverpool higher up, probably because they didn't do it as much in the first half, and obviously he could have potentially thrown it away with a penalty miss. He wanted to keep the intensity high straight away, and as I said, the goal came quite early in the second half, and then it was just like a constantly falling down. But like the Foden stepped up to the plate, Gundogan stepped up to the plate, and Sterling stepped up to the plate, and them three as a unit. Yeah, Mahrez was there.
Yeah,
he was there. He was there on the press, but he wasn't there on the ball. But it just felt like they wanted it more than Mane, Salah, and Firmino. Like they were more hungry to go and get the win for their team.
I know Liverpool are bad, but I think this game showed me how much mentality plays a part in, especially high level football. Raheem Sterling is usually terrible at Anfield against Liverpool. But now there's no crowd booing him. Man was just free to just play. Like, as I said, I know Liverpool are playing bad, so maybe if there was a crowd and in this form, he may would have done it. But it's like he just seemed free. He could make a mistake and there's no one booing him, heckling him, and just go again and go again. And he tore Trent a new one, man.
Yeah. Carl, what did you make of it? Obviously, City now 10 games unbeaten, or 10 games winning in a row in the Premier League, 14 in all comps. Is it just Man City's title now? You did mention last week actually that there was only one team in the title race.
I did.
Have Man City wrapped it up?
And even in I think if we can play it back, if I remember correctly, even in my pre-season prediction, and you lot all said I was crazy, and I said Man City are gonna storm it 15 points. Remember, I said like 10, 15 points, and here we are sat here. They're 10 points ahead of Liverpool with a game in hand, and they're 7 points ahead of Man United, second place with a game in hand.
5.
Oh, 5. Yeah, 5 points ahead of Man United with a game in hand to win that, and 8 points. And from now to the end of the season, I expect them to get more points than Manchester United. So if Man United do end up, you only got your board to blame. Should have bought Jadon Sancho, maybe you might have won the title. Maybe if you had bought Jadon Sancho, but on recent form, you can see, like, I expect Man City to get at least 10 more points from now until the end of the season than Manchester United. So if Man United do end up finishing in second place, they're gonna win the title by at least like 15 points, and that's what I said. They're gonna win it by 10, 15 points, and you lot thought I was crazy, but here we are sat here, and Man City looking extremely, extremely comfortable. In terms of the game, I kind of watched what Trent had to say before the game, not even just in terms of about the game, but he had like a personal one-on-one interview, and they were talking about their recent form, and what could potentially be affecting them. And he said that they're just suffering from the expect to win syndrome kind of thing, whereas they were so good last year and they won it by so many points. Like a lot of the players, just got it into their head that all we have to do is we're Liverpool, we're like the best in the league. We just go out there and it's a foregone conclusion. Whereas he was saying last season we weren't the best, Man City were the champions, and every match was we have to go out and prove that we are the best, this is what we can do. And they don't have that mentality. And he was saying that we can't use the excuse that we've got 2-3 centre backs injured. That's not the reason, because he was saying that a lot of the games are very, very much low scoring. He said apart from the Aston Villa game, which was 7-2, a lot of the games would either lose 1-0 or
And
we're drawing or winning
and
by.
And they had their defenders in that 7-2. That's the thing.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
They did. They had
Yeah.
Van Dijk. They had the defenders in that 7-2, and he was saying that it's not down to the part of defensive duties. It's the attacking part is not all there as well. Many are people saying that Mane is having his worst season with Liverpool today, and so it's and obviously a lot of people are
I'm so happy to see that. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I got nothing against Mane personally, but people have hyped him so much. Like just the moment he done something, better than Salah, better than best winger in the world. I was like, guys, man, relax.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, now a lot of the Liverpool fans, they're giving stick to Firmino because he just doesn't contribute enough. But it was fine before because Mane and Salah were doing enough. But now Mane is not doing enough. You need something from someone else. Before this rot started, they had Jota. Jota was the one that was giving them that something that Mane wasn't delivering. Salah was always scoring. Salah's always going to deliver. But if Mane wasn't delivering, they're going to need something extra. Salah's not going to do it on his own. It's not the first season when he arrived, when he got over 40 goals. That was a freak season. We're not there. We need Liverpool needs someone else to contribute alongside Salah. Firmino's never done it, and he's not going to ever do it. And Mane is currently not doing it. And they had Jota. And Jota was on some serious form, but as soon as he went down, goals started drying up, and they're in a real bad place. So I think it's all good them signing some centre backs, but I think they needed a forward. They needed Minamino to be better than he actually is, or they need Mane to find some form. Firmino to take his finger out of his backside and do something like. Something needs to happen. Well, they just need a miracle to happen, and Jota needs to be fit tomorrow. But that ain't gonna happen. So they're in a real bad place right now.
But do you think that they've, we always talk about, you can't. Every team has their own sort of era in football, and sometimes you don't really know it until you look back and you think actually that was the era of United, that was Arsenal's era, that was Chelsea's era in terms of what they won and what they achieved in that time. Obviously, Liverpool having Champions League final, which they lost to Madrid, is potentially the start of it. The Champions League trophy, obviously winning it a couple of years ago, and in the Premier League last year. Are we potentially seeing coming to the end of that Liverpool era?
Hopefully.
And maybe because it's not easy to, and Liverpool fans probably thought it was because they dominated so easily last year that you would just continue the same on.
This is why you need to capitalize when you can. Like when you're at the top, you need to do everything. Like him foregoing cup competitions and that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like now, look at you now.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. We're winning one trophy a year. You gotta just take everything you can get because you don't know what's happening tomorrow.
Yep.
So listen, I'm not complaining. It's reality, isn't it? They're talking about. Is this the greatest, one of the greatest sides of all time?
No.
Well, listen. Well, you say that, Kyle. But you were calling Man City's Centurions one of the greatest of all time before they defended it. So according to you, the Liverpool side should be right out there because they won the Champions League in 2019, and then they won the Premier League with 99 points in 2020.
No.
For me, I'm consistent.
It's not the same because 99 points has been achieved before.
Ridiculous, guy. 1 point. 1 point.
It doesn't matter.
Okay, but they won it with.
They didn't break records. They didn't break records.
No, they did. No, it was a joint biggest gap second place, but they won it with the most games left to spare, so the earliest in terms of games played. So that's the main record they broke. But for me, I've always said back to back, you have to go back to back for me to even start talking about you being one of the greatest Premier League sides of all time. Chelsea's done it, Man United's done it multiple times, Man City's done it, and Liverpool. Well, I mean, they're not doing it, innit? It's done. Klopp conceded it. He was rattled in his absolutely rattled. Man didn't even know they were only 10 points behind. He thought they were 13 already. He'd already given Man City the win of their game in hands. Like he's done, man. Not done.
Guys, I'm joining so late.
Hopefully he's done at Liverpool. Move on. Get in Gerrard and see it all crumble.
I mean, I think it kind of depends what kind of form Van Dijk is when he comes back. Like, yeah, this season's the write-off. This season's done. They're not going to win anything this season. But I just think that for next season, I think it just depends what kind of Van Dijk they get back.
I think it's more than that. I think it's who they recruit in the summer, because we've seen Liverpool. The reason why Liverpool were where they are is because their recruitment was brilliant for the past 6 transfer windows. So like 3 years, bringing in the Salah, which obviously ended up being monumental, but the Van Dijk, the Alisson. Even the Fabinho, the Matips, the parts that fit the other pieces together, the Robertson, like you know what I mean, the piece of the puzzle that just fit it all together neatly in. They were magnificent. This year they brought in Jota, Thiago, and this brother from Greece, the left back. And I just feel like it didn't say.
To be fair, Jota was a good signing.
Jota was a very good signing, and in isolation, Thiago was a very good signing. Like in terms of what he's done last year by Munich to bring him in. Remember at the start of the season, we were like, if they get Thiago, then they got maybe something to talk about for next year, and it would prove competition. But the reality is, them not bringing the centre back when they arguably needed it in terms of selling Lovren and not bringing someone else in became their downfall. They had to drop Henderson. They're now dropping Henderson and Fabinho into centre back and getting Thiago to do all the legwork, what Henderson was doing last year. And maybe it takes away that. Maybe we're really now seeing what Henderson and Fabinho were doing in midfield last year.
I don't blame Klopp, of course not, because I'm sure he wanted a centre.
You blamed him an hour ago.
I'm talking about a defensive issue in terms of not having a centre back. I'm sure he would have wanted one, but I have no sympathy for Liverpool Football Club because they had the evidence of Man City the year before. Yeah. Company left, Laporte gets injured, Fernandinho goes into defense, and it all falls apart. So who decided? If it was Klopp, then I'll put it on him. Who decided that? All right, we can do with 3, because if so and so gets injured, I can just drop Fabinho back there. Now maybe they thought, drop Fabinho back, put Thiago in the single pivot, and he can do his thing from there. Thiago as a lone DM is not Fabinho. I don't care how good Thiago is. You had to get another centre back. So someone gross negligence by allowing Lovren to leave and not replace him. You might as well just keep Lovren. Keep an unhappy Lovren.
Because I mean, obviously we couldn't foresee, and obviously the other thing is that we know that Matip is injury prone. So Matip is injury prone.
To be fair, has had his fair share of injuries as well.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously the injuries itself, in terms of the season-ending ones, you wouldn't be able to foresee. But if you know that these two are injury prone in general, you would have thought. I mean, as I said, Liverpool fans were saying to me that they wanted a centre back in the summer. So they knew so there was a need. They knew there was a need to have someone there, because we all said it last year. What if they got injured? Like, would they have done it? What if they got injured? Would they have done it? And they were like, yeah, but they didn't. So it's cool. So it's all right to blindside yourself in that respect. But then you have to come out. There's no excuse this year. If that's what you're saying last year, yeah, but they didn't. Then this year you got to do it. Man City haven't had a striker this season. They haven't had a striker. Sergio Aguero's injured, and if Man City were in Liverpool's position now, they may be saying, "Oh, you know what? We didn't have a striker," and then we would have said, "Ha, that's Pep's fault. You didn't bring in a striker when you knew Sergio Aguero was injury prone."
Yeah.
But they didn't, and they dealt with it in their own way, playing false nines. You know what I mean? Playing Jesus here and there, playing De Bruyne false nine, Gundogan, Foden.
You see,
Sterling,
the thing
Mahrez,
is,
Torres.
the thing is with that, I feel like you can get away with a striker.
No.
But
No,
not the reason.
no,
Hold
no,
on. Hold your horses. I think if you have a decent enough team, I feel like you can get away with it. Because look at Man City. Where is Aguero? And the goals are still coming here and there and everywhere. So I'm just trying to say, I feel like you can get away with it just a little bit more. A defender, you can have the best attack. But if you always concede, I feel like it's going to be a long road, because you're going to start playing players that will, like, for instance, Henderson and Fabinho, who are better in midfield. And yes, they might be able to. There was a few games where, like, yeah, you know what? Fabinho is actually really solid here, but it can only go for so much because that's just not their comfortable position. And we are seeing now.
I hear you.
I feel like you can get goals, then you can't replace defense.
However, Manchester United haven't had a striker all year. And that's
but you're still scoring goals, are you not?
But that, for me, is
you scored 49 goals. Sorry,
if we had one, we might actually have a chance of winning this title. Now,
no, I understand that.
Us. I get that, but yeah, 49 goals. We scored 9 in one game. You can't take it away from us. Scored 9 in one game.
Okay, well, you scored 40 goals then, which is 3 behind City.
Yeah, because we finally decided.
You don't have a striker also.
No, because we finally decided to play a striker. We finally decided to actually put a striker up front in Edison Cavani. And we said, that's how we can score some goals. Like, we have been struggling. Now, I don't know. Look at Chelsea. Chelsea, your striker, Werner couldn't hit a bundle with a banjo. And you've been struggling. So I think it takes a good manager to make it without a striker, to put a midfielder in strike, as opposed to, well, you can get goals from elsewhere, because usually those goals from elsewhere come with the striker. So the striker is maybe holding up the ball, laying it up. The thing is, Man United's team up front. I'll tell you that right now. It's not happening.
But I'm just trying to say, I feel like I said, you get.
I probably agree. The centre back is probably the more important one.
Yeah, centre back is more key.
But they say that, but it's this what's I don't understand. What's happening here is an anomaly. You don't normally win leagues without someone being the main goal scorer, whether it's the wide man like Salah and Mane, or whether it's the front striker. If you look back in the years of the Premier League, the teams that have won the Premier League, the Man United, Arsenal, Chelsea, they usually had a main goal scorer getting the goals. This doesn't normally happen. This isn't, and the teams that usually don't have a striker usually say, if we had one, we would have won the league. Or if we had a wide man scoring 20 plus goals, it would have won the league. Man City may not even have one person scoring 20 Premier League goals this season.
Team usually go down because they can't get a striker to score 15.
Yeah, but the problem is the issue is that there's so many makeshifts and stuff moving around for Liverpool. Everything is just off balance. You need to remember their midfield unit are now shifted all over the gap in defense. Everything's just off balance. Like it's like Mourinho when he came back to Chelsea the second time. The first season, missing a striker, everything was off balance. We weren't scoring. Diego Costa, Fabregas comes in all of a sudden, like we go on and win the title. But for them, their balance is so off because people like Henderson, Fabinho have been playing up in the midfield, and all of a sudden they're now having to play like centre backs. It might work for a game or two if the defender's out for 2 games, but a defender out for 9 months, it's a whole different thing. Everything that they're used to for the past 3-4 years is now out the window, and they're gonna get frazzled. Poor Alisson passing the ball to Man City in that.
But Javon, this was always the question we had last year. Do they have the squad depth? Because they didn't, as you said, they didn't go for the cups last year. They pulled out of them because they probably knew if they got an injury in one of the cup games, then it would have been crisis period. So they said, you know what, we're not going to go for the League Cup. Won't go for FA Cup. Obviously, they got knocked out of the Champions League. And it was like, okay, cool. right? It's a Premier League team this year, and the same the year.
I put it down to FSG.
Well, I mean,
man, they didn't bring in because I'm pretty. Listen, what manager knows and says, you know what, a centre back just left. We need a centre. There is no manager here. Klopp is just probably just being quiet about it because obviously, you know, contracts and all of those things you don't want to. But there is no way you're going to sit there and be like, I don't want a centre back. Don't bring one in. Like, even in some of his press conferences, you can see that he's like, yeah, you know, the club needs, but it's, you know, it's not down to me. The club has to bring it, you know, the owners and whatever. It's the same with Man United. They need the players and the boards need to pull their fingers out and sort it out. It's not Klopp. Klopp didn't say, I don't want defenders and my team is good. Every manager wants to add to their squad. No one doesn't want to add to their squad. They want to. For me personally,
I heard that. So, but then when you get, and I heard that, and I think that, listen, in hindsight, if he knew this, with the three of them being out, like even one defender probably wouldn't have been enough with all three of them being out. And, in hindsight,
and no one expected this as well.
It may not have been enough, but it's the potential of maybe if there was one more in, the pressure wouldn't have been on to play the others as much. You may have been able to get more out of them. You know, if let's say for example they brought in Upamecano and a Van Dijk, then Gomez wouldn't have had to play as much. You may have been able to listen. It happens, isn't it? These sort of things happen.
Ifs and buts and all of that.
For me, it's the importance of what happens next for them. If they don't get the recruitment right for the second window, as in this one coming up, there could be a case of where they fall back to where they were, and I said their recruitment was so good for the past 6. They don't want the next 6 to be worse, because trust me. My team are sitting in 11th place, and I know about poor recruitment.
Our team are sitting.
Listen, you don't want to have to be cutting man's contract early with 6 man at the club because you don't want them anymore. You don't want to do that. But yeah, man. So yeah, it looks like City will run away with it. And yeah, I have to credit the no striking Pep.